Kimi Antonelli's victory could be dragged into a technical storm, but the most explosive claim has not yet been proven. Mercedes is being accused of using a hidden hybrid advantage in Belgium, and one detail could decide whether this becomes a genuine Formula One scandal, or another case of a legal innovation being mistaken for cheating. The investigation, the telemetry, and the exact wording of the regulations all lead to one question. Was Antonelli's win earned within the rules, or could the result still be taken away? Subscribe to the channel. Before anyone decides that Antonelli's victory should be erased, there is one critical distinction that changes the entire story. A technical question is not the same as a guilty verdict. An unusual performance pattern is not proof of cheating. And a car being examined does not automatically mean the driver has done anything wrong. That sounds obvious. But in Formula One, once the word investigation appears, the truth can disappear beneath the noise. A fast exit becomes suspicious. A strong straight-line gain becomes evidence. A clever strategy becomes a hidden device. Then, before the governing body has explained anything, the public has already reached a conclusion. That is exactly why the situation is so dangerous for Kimi Antonelli. A driver can complete every lap perfectly. He can follow every instruction. He can manage the tires, protect the car, and survive pressure from behind. But if the machine beneath him becomes the subject of a technical dispute, the entire result can be questioned. Not because the driver cheated. Because Formula One judges the driver and the car as one complete entry. Think of it like winning a race while wearing shoes supplied by your team. You may have trained for years. You may have run the perfect race. But if officials later decide those shoes broke the rules, your effort may no longer protect the result. That is the uncomfortable reality Antonelli would face if a genuine technical violation were ever proven. But that final condition matters. It must be proven. And right now, the attached source does not establish that Antonelli's Belgian result is under a confirmed official investigation. It does not provide an FIA ruling. It does not identify a failed technical test. It does not show a protest document. It does not confirm that Mercedes used an illegal hybrid system. So the most important question is not whether the scandal sounds convincing. The question is what evidence would actually be required to make it real. That takes us inside the most complicated part of a modern Formula One car. The hybrid system. A current Formula One power unit does more than burn fuel. It also collects electrical energy, stores it, and releases it when the driver needs additional performance. Imagine a runner carrying a rechargeable battery. The runner still needs strength, balance, and perfect timing. But at the right moment, the battery provides an extra push. That push can improve acceleration out of a corner. It can help defend at the end of a straight. It can turn a small gap into an overtaking opportunity. And during qualifying, it can make the difference between clean air at the front and traffic behind slower cars. This is why hybrid energy attracts so much attention. The advantage does not need to look dramatic. It can appear for only a few seconds. It can arrive in one section of the lap. It can be hidden inside normal acceleration. To the audience, the car simply looks fast. To rival engineers, the way it becomes fast may look far more important. They do not only watch the top speed. They watch how quickly the car reaches that speed. They study where the acceleration begins. They examine whether the gain appears repeatedly. They compare the car with its teammate, its customers, and every rival using similar machinery. One unusual moment may mean nothing. A repeated pattern creates questions. But questions still have many possible answers. The driver may have taken a better line. The tires may have provided more grip. The car may have carried less aerodynamic resistance. The battery may have been prepared differently. The setup may have favored the straight. A tailwind may have helped. Or the team may simply have found a smarter way to use a legal system. That final possibility is what makes Formula One engineering so controversial. Teams are not only competing to build faster parts. They are competing to understand the rules better than everyone else. The regulations create boundaries. Engineers search every millimeter inside them. And when one team finds an interpretation the others missed, the reaction is immediate. Some call it innovation. Others call it manipulation. The difference may depend on one sentence in the rulebook. That is where the Mercedes hybrid accusation becomes more complicated than the headline suggests. A performance advantage can exist without being illegal. Every winning car has advantages. The real issue is how that advantage was produced. Was it created through better energy management? Was it created through a legal interpretation that rivals failed to identify? Was it created inside a gray area that officials may later close? Or did the system cross a clear technical limit? Those possibilities may sound similar. They lead to completely different consequences. If Mercedes simply operated the hybrid system more effectively, there is no scandal. If the team used a legal loophole, officials might clarify the rule for future races while leaving the result untouched. If the car entered a gray area, the outcome would depend on the precise wording and the evidence. Only a proven violation could place the result in direct danger. And proving that would require far more than a suspicious speed trace. Officials would need reliable technical data. They would need to understand what the system did. They would need to compare that behavior with the regulation. They would need to establish whether the readings were accurate. And they would need to remove innocent explanations before reaching a serious conclusion. This is not like finding an oversized wing with a ruler. Hybrid systems involve software, sensors, energy flow, and timing. A component can appear completely normal while the important difference exists in how it is controlled. That makes the investigation harder. It also makes public speculation easier. Because when the technology is difficult to understand, people fill the empty space with the most dramatic explanation. Mercedes found secret power. Antonelli used an illegal boost. The FIA discovered hidden data. The victory could disappear. Each statement sounds powerful. None should be treated as fact without evidence. And that creates a brutal situation for Antonelli. The more successful the result, the louder the suspicion becomes. If he wins by a large margin, critics ask whether the car had an unfair advantage. If he wins narrowly, they argue that even a tiny technical gain could have decided everything. If he drove perfectly, the machine receives the blame. If he made mistakes, the controversy grows because people wonder whether the car rescued him. There is almost no way for the driver to escape the story once it begins. But Formula One has to separate emotion from proof. A dramatic victory deserves scrutiny. It does not deserve automatic erasure. A clever Mercedes system deserves examination. It does not deserve to be called illegal before the regulation has been applied. And the word hidden deserves special caution. All Formula One cars produce enormous amounts of information. Teams monitor temperatures, pressures, energy use, acceleration, braking, and countless other signals. Some of that information is visible to officials. Some is studied by the team. Some can be estimated by rivals. Finding an unusual data point does not automatically reveal deception. It may reveal a problem. It may reveal an advantage. It may reveal nothing more than a sensor behaving strangely. The meaning comes from context. And context is exactly what is missing when a technical rumor explodes online. One fragment appears. Then another account repeats it. The language becomes stronger. Possible turns into probable. Probable turns into confirmed. By the time the story reaches the driver, the accusation sounds like a verdict. That is why the next stage matters so much. Not the reaction from social media. Not the anger from rival fans. Not the pressure created by a dramatic headline. The decisive stage would be the evidence. What did the car actually do? What limit was allegedly crossed? Which data proves it? Was the behavior repeated? Was the monitoring system functioning correctly? And did Mercedes have a legal explanation? Until those questions are answered, Antonelli's victory exists in an uncomfortable space. Celebrated on the track. Questioned away from it. And surrounded by a claim that may sound far more certain than the available facts. But there is another layer. Even when a system is legal, the FIA can still decide that it exposes a weakness in the rules. That would not mean Mercedes cheated. It would mean Mercedes discovered an opportunity the rulemakers no longer want teams to use. This happens because Formula One regulations are constantly chasing Formula One engineers. Officials write a restriction. Teams study the wording. One team discovers a route around the intended effect. Rivals complain. The rule is clarified. Then the search begins again. It is less like a finished rulebook and more like a locked building where engineers test every door, every window, and every gap in the walls. Mercedes has a long history of finding those gaps. That reputation increases suspicion. It also means the team may simply be better at identifying legal performance opportunities. Expertise can look like guilt when rivals do not understand the method. And jealousy can look like evidence when the gap appears suddenly. That is why the reaction from other teams would matter. Not because rivals are automatically correct. Because they possess enough technical knowledge to recognize when a performance pattern deserves further study. But rival teams also have a competitive motive. If Mercedes has found a legal advantage, they want it removed. If they cannot copy it quickly, a protest or clarification may be the fastest way to neutralize it. That does not make every complaint dishonest. It means every complaint exists inside a battle for performance. Formula One is not a courtroom filled with neutral observers. It is a championship where every team benefits when a rival loses speed. And Antonelli sits at the center of that fight. His victory would represent a personal breakthrough. Years of preparation compressed into one result. But a technical dispute can strip away the human story. Instead of discussing his braking, tire management, or composure, the conversation becomes dominated by software and electrical deployment. The driver becomes almost invisible. The machine becomes the entire story. That may be unfair. Yet if the car were proven illegal, fairness to the driver would not preserve the result. The regulations apply to the full entry. That is the tension Formula One cannot escape. A driver may be innocent of any decision. The result may still depend on decisions made by the team. And this is where the next clue becomes essential. The fate of the victory would not be decided by whether Mercedes looked unusually fast. It would be decided by whether the car's recorded hybrid behavior matched the limits written into the regulations. If the data matches, the accusation begins to collapse. If the data reveals only a clever legal method, the result should remain. But if verified information shows that the system crossed a clear boundary, then the celebration could become something completely different. Not because Antonelli suddenly became a worse driver. Because in Formula One, the greatest drive of a young career can still be overturned by a decision he never made. And this is where the story moves from suspicion to procedure. Because Formula One does not erase a victory simply because rival teams are unhappy. There has to be a process. There has to be evidence. And there has to be a clear connection between the behavior of the car and a specific regulation. That process is much slower, much colder, and much more precise than the public argument surrounding it. The first step would be identifying the exact part of the hybrid system under question. Not the entire power unit. Not a general feeling that the Mercedes looked too fast. One specific behavior. One specific limit. One specific moment where the system may, or may not, have operated outside the rule. That detail matters because a Formula One hybrid system is not one simple device. It is a network. The combustion engine produces power from fuel. The electrical system stores energy. The control software decides when that energy is released. Sensors measure what the car is doing. And the driver controls the final demand through the accelerator. All of those parts interact. So when data appears unusual, investigators cannot jump directly to the most dramatic conclusion. They have to rebuild the moment. What was the battery charge before the corner? How much electrical power was available? When did deployment begin? When did it fall? How quickly did it fall? What did the driver request? What did the software command? And what did the car actually deliver? That is the difference between a rumor and a technical case. A rumor needs one suspicious image. A technical case needs the entire sequence. Imagine watching a security camera clip showing someone leaving a shop with a box. That image looks suspicious. But it does not tell you whether the box was stolen, purchased, returned, or carried out by an employee. The final action is visible. The meaning is not. Hybrid data works the same way. A speed gain can be visible. The reason behind it may not be. And Mercedes would have several possible explanations before any accusation became serious. The car may have started the section with more stored energy. The driver may have used a more efficient line. The tires may have produced better traction. The aerodynamic setup may have reduced drag. The electrical deployment may have been legal, but timed differently. Or the visible advantage may have come from several small factors working together. That final possibility is often overlooked. Formula One performance rarely comes from one magical source. It comes from layers. A slightly better exit. A slightly lower drag level. A slightly stronger energy release. A slightly more confident driver. Each gain may be tiny. Together, they look dramatic. And this creates the first major danger for any investigation. Correlation is not proof. If the Mercedes gains speed at the same moment the hybrid system is deploying, that does not automatically mean the system was illegal.